Hello friends, we have finished with the weathering part. We finished with the what are the different types of land, what are the different types of flow that river goes through. That is, these were the parts which were important for preliminary examination. Now one of the last part of geomorphology and one of the most important part of the geomorphology is the part of erosion. Erosion and weathering, as we already done, these two form the part of deposition, these two form the part of an denudation. What is an erosion? Why it is known as erosion? How it is different from weathering? As we have repeated it many times, and I think it is now in your brain that erosion is a dynamic process in which there is a transportation, in which there is after transportation there is a deposition. So in the process of erosion there is one erosion, that is denudation, breaking down, then transportation, and then deposition. Deposition wherever the agent of erosion will go. For example, what is the ultimate source? Where does the river ultimately goes into? It goes into the sea. So unless it is an inland river system, it will ultimately go into the sea. So the normal cycle of erosion, or which we can say the river erosion, river is an agent of erosion. It erodes away, it removes the rock material, and then it takes down and then into the sea. Can these two processes work simultaneously? That is the other process, weathering, which we did as a static process. Why static process? Because in the process of weathering there is no transportation by any agent of erosion unless under the influence of a gravity. So the erosion here, what do you mean by erosion? Erosion is a process, it's a dynamic process in which there is an transportation of an eroded material and deposition of an eroded material into the sea, land, anywhere, that is wherever the agent of erosion will stop. Now this erosion is one of the important topics in geomorphology, in the important topics in geography, both from the preliminary point of view, from the mains point of view. Now here again from the preliminary point of view, because it is the first stage of the examination, you should know what is the normal cycle of erosion. That is, whether it includes the river water, whether it includes the glacier, which cycle of erosion is known as the normal cycle of erosion. Now you must have seen the questions commonly asked in the examination, that is XYZ. For example, they will give you U-shaped valley, V-shaped valley, hanging valley, rainbow, this or ribbon lakes, out of which this four is not associated with glaciated topography. Or the second is Zeugen is associated with which kind of an topography, or the hanging lakes are associated with which kind of an topography. These are the previous year's question, if you can see, and very simple to understand. You don't even have to learn them properly if you can listen to the lectures with good concentration. Now the erosion here, as I told you, is different from weathering in the terms of that erosion involves transportation of what? Obviously eroded material, and it involves deposition of what? Obviously again eroded materials. So the process which involves transportation and deposition is known as erosion. Now obviously, because it involves transportation and deposition, it has to be carried out by agents of erosion. Different agents of erosion. And what are these different agents? These different agents are running water, that is, where is the water running? Rivers. The second agent is wind. Where is the wind effective agent of erosion? In desert. The third important agent is glacier. in the regions which are covered by ice. And one more agent, important agent of erosion, is water in coastal areas in the form of sea waves, etc. So these are the three different types of agents which are involved in erosion. Now obviously the running water will have a different kind of a topography. The area where the river is active, there the topography will be very different from the area where the wind is active agent of erosion, which will be having a different topography from the area where the glacier is an active agent of erosion. That means the erosion, which involves transportation and deposition by the different agents of erosion, it will give rise to landforms, and as a result we will be doing the next topic, that is the landforms made by each and every of them. The landforms which are made by respective agents, and how this land is changed by the respective agents of erosion. So the erosion involves transportation, deposition carried out by different agent, running water, wind, which is mostly an effective agent only in desert, glacier in the which areas covered by the ice, areas covered by the snow, water in the coastal areas and the rivers, and the respective landforms made by the different kind of an agents of erosion. On the other hand, weathering was a static process, very boring, very simple process. That is, it was very different in the terms of physical weathering, chemical weathering and biochemical weathering. Now, does the weathering and erosion can occur simultaneously? Yes or no? Or it is totally different process? They can occur simultaneously. In fact, they occur simultaneously. Generally, the rocks, the big masses of the rocks are made weak by the process of weathering, and after that the process of erosion break those rocks and they carry and deposit it in the sea or in some other place where the speed of that agent of erosion decreases. Now obviously the energy, how much energy you are carrying will determine how much load can you carry. The same thing you apply to the different agents. If the wind is very fast, it can carry much larger stones, much larger dust materials, much bigger quantity of dust materials. On the other hand, if the wind is very, very slow in the form of a breeze, it does not carry much materials. Same river, when it is under the flood, under the influence of flood or having a great speed, it is having much higher transportation capacity as compared to the river which is having very less volume of water and it is flowing through flat regions. So as a result of this, so you remember weathering and erosion can occur simultaneously. Now to reflect what is the questions can be: describe the normal process of weathering, describe the normal cycle of erosion, describe the Davis model of erosion, not Penck's, sorry, describe the Davis's model of erosion. Now what do you mean by or they can ask you, describe the riverine models of erosion. Next simple questions can be: describe the landforms made by glaciated erosion, describe the landform made by river, describe the landform made by wind erosion, describe the karst topography, describe the coastal regions. Okay, so out of this, obviously the most important is riverine erosion. In the preliminary examination, they can give you the names of different landforms made by the different agents, and they can ask you to choose an odd one out or which is not correctly matched, etc. Every year one question in the preliminary examination, more than one question in the preliminary examination from this topic. Now it was not much important topic for the mains examination before your change of syllabus in 2013, but now the scope of geography has widened. The scope of geography is becoming more and more like an optional subject, obviously only in the area of physical geography, and therefore this topic has become very important topic. Now looking at the Looking at there is one more examination, obviously the forest services examination. If you look at the forest services examination, geography being an important topic, these are the important questions. In fact, regularly the questions have in the area or in the sphere of a physical geography, the questions here are similar to the optional questions sometimes. That is, describe plate tectonics, describe the Banks-Davis's model of erosion. What do you mean by the normal cycle of erosion? Now, if you look at the different agents of erosion in here, which is the universal agent of erosion? Or which is the agent of erosion which is present at all the places on the globe? Is the glacier present everywhere? Yes or no? Or is it limited only to the areas of snow? Obviously limited to the areas of snow. Wind, limited to the wind, though it is everywhere, but it is very strong in the desert region, so it is an effective agent only in the desert region. But rivers are present everywhere. In the terms, when there is a rivers like river Ganga, in the tropics there are mighty rivers. In the temperate regions there are mighty rivers. If you go to the desert regions, there may not be mighty river except river Nile, which is still a mighty river. But in case of seasonal rainfalls, during the rainfall there are seasonal rivers which originate only during the season of rainy season, and they evaporate afterwards. That is the seasonal rivers. Glacier when it is coming down over the period of time, it melts and becomes a river, and the river then joins the sea. Example, what is the source of origin of river Ganga? Does it originate from the glacier or as the water? Gangotri glacier. Same river Yamunotri glacier. So this major Himalayan rivers all originate from the glacier. So that is why we say that river is an universal agent of an erosion, and therefore the normal cycle of erosion is the cycle made by rivers in the process of erosion. So the riverine cycle of erosion is also known as the normal cycle of erosion. So when the question comes in the examination regarding what is the normal cycle of erosion, your answer should be the fluvial cycle. Fluvial means water, glacial means ice or snow. The fluvial cycle of erosion or the normal cycle of erosion or the riverine cycle of erosion, it is all the same. So here, not to make you confused, so I will take first the normal cycle of erosion, which will be like your answer itself, that what are the diagrams to be reflected, how should be the kind of an answer. Note down the important points. One of the most difficult subject part, I will try to make it as easy as possible. Then the second is, we will study the different landforms separately. As a general study student, you are supposed to know only the normal cycle of erosion. You are not supposed to know the glacial cycle of erosion. You are not supposed to know the aeolian or wind cycle of erosion. So coming to it, what is an erosion? Involves transportation and deposition carried out by different agents of erosion, and out of that we are doing the normal cycle of erosion, that is the fluvial cycle of erosion. Or the fluvial cycle of erosion, that is by river or running water. That is by river or running water. Just you should know the two other terms. Aeolian cycle of erosion, though not related to it, you should know is by winds, and the glacial cycle is by ice. Okay. So now how does the river erosion, now before going to how does the river erosion takes place? The river erosion, whenever the river comes, the rocks which are there inside the river or inside along the river beds, whenever the river flows in an area, the rocks are eroded by the now here how does the river erosion takes place? Just before we go to the normal cycle of erosion, now river erosion is takes place by eroding the rocks or the sediments. The sediments which are carried by the river is known as a load. Is known as load, and these sediments are carried by the river in three forms. In three forms, that is either in solution, in suspension, or as a traction load. How now here the sediments which are known as load, they are carried or transported by river either in solution or in suspension or as a traction load. Simple English words, what is known as solution? The material here gets dissolved in water, so that means it is completely dissolved, or the rocks are dissolved in water, then it is known as solution. For example, when you mix the common salt, which is one of the sedimentary rock, it gets totally dissolved in water. As a result, it will get deposited over the period of time. When the water reaches near the sea, it gets deposited because it is the most finer sediment. In those regions, when the water is evaporated, what remains is salt. We collect it as an rock salt. So the materials which are totally dissolved in water are known as materials in solution. Obviously the very, very finer materials, what do you mean by carried in suspension? That is, they are carried along with the water. They are carried along with the water. Now the fine particles, if the flow of a water current is too strong, and if you don't know swimming, or even if you know the swimming, if the flow of water current is very strong, if you jump in the water, what will happen? You will get carried along with the flow of water. You will flow along with the water. The same thing even in the normal times or even during the flood times. Obviously during the flood times the transportation capacity increases. During the normal times the water carries finer particles which do not get dissolved in water in suspension. That is, they are carried along with the flowing water. They flow along with the water. On the other hand, very, very large stones, large boulders, large coarse materials which cannot be flowed along with the water, they will be carried as a traction load. That means they will jump and roll at the bed of an water. That is, they will be there along the beds of the water. So very heavy loads. They roll along the bed of an water. That is known as an traction load. So some particles just get dissolved in water, some particles get suspended in water, while some particles are carried as a traction load, that is they roll along the bed of an water. What do you mean by bed of an water? For example, if we draw this diagram of a flow of a river, some materials will be obviously there in the suspension that we cannot see, so they will get totally dissolved in water. Some materials will be there, they will be carried in suspension in the water, finer materials obviously, while the larger materials they will roll along the bed of an water. Such is known as a traction load along the bed of an water. This material is known as a traction load. So the normal cycle of erosion or the fluid cycle of erosion we are doing with, we have just started that how does the river erosion occur. Now the river erosion occurs due to there is a lot of sediments in the water. How are the sediments carried in solution, in suspension as an traction load? Now this materials which are present in solution or as a traction load or as in suspension, they will get transport, they will move along with the water, at the same time they will engage in the process of a river erosion. Now how does this river erosion occurs? The materials which are carried in solution, suspension or transportation. That means if the question is in the preliminary examination, obviously in the main examination the scope is less, but in the preliminary examination, how does the load is carried in the suspension? What do you mean by suspension? Along with the water. Solution getting dissolved in the water, pani mein mil jana, and the traction load, that is the larger materials along the bed of a river. They are carried along the bed of a river. Now how does the river erosion occur? The river erosion occurs due to occurs due to sediments due to the sediment load, both transportation and erosion. I am using the shortcuts for transportation and erosion occurs simultaneously. So how does the river erosion occur? The river erosion occurs due to the sediment load. You already done how the sediment load is being taken place. Both the transportation and erosion occurs simultaneously in the following ways. That is corrosion, also known as abrasion, corrosion or abrasion, corrosion or solution, attrition, and the fourth is hydraulic action. So the question if it is asked, how does the river erosion occur? The river erosion occurs due to the sediment load. Both transportation and erosion occurs simultaneously due to in the following ways, that is the corrosion, abrasion, corrosion, solution, corrosion, abrasion, attrition, and the hydraulic action. Now obviously you need to explain each and everything of this in detail, and coming to this we will study what is corrosion, what is corrosion, what is attrition, and what is an hydraulic action. Now what is an corrosion? Corrosion is like grinding the rivers, grinding the sediments along the banks of a river or along the bed of a river. That is, if this is a sediment, this sediment will be grinding along the sides of a river or along the bed of a river, resulting in obviously two different kinds of a process. Now we'll study each of this in detail and see here the points for the preliminary examination, especially in the corrosion part. What does it mean? It means mechanical grinding. It means the mechanical, obviously it is a kind of a mechanical erosion, mechanical grinding of sediments along the bed of a river and along the banks of a river or sides of a river. Along the sides of a river. So it occurs along the bed of a river, along the sides of a river. Now remember, if there is a river which is flowing, if you are rubbing something along the ground, you must have played with the stones digging the ground surface. Digging is what? Abrading. It is the corrosion process. You are digging the ground surface. As a result of this, there is a small hole which is formed on the ground surface. Same thing happens in this process here. If you take a sediment load and dig or rub along the bank of a river, then what will happen? It will increase the depth of a river, resulting in the process which is known as valley. What it is making? Valley shallow or deep? It is making valley deeps. So corrosion results into valley deepening. What kind of an corrosion results into valley deepening? Which kind of a corrosion it will result into? Vertical corrosion. On the other hand, lateral corrosion will result into valley widening. Remember these two parts: vertical deepening, lateral widening. Now here look at the diagrams, how it is different or how it is. If this is the normal flow of a river, in the normal circumstances we are doing. Now if there is a sediment load in the river, obviously there is a sediment load which I will draw with the red color. There are different kind of sediments in the river. Now consider this sediments which are at the floor, that is this kind of an sediment. They are continuously grinding the floor. As a result, the depth of a floor increases. This process is known as pothole drilling. That is, you are grinding this river force. It results into vertical corrosion. It will result into obviously deepening up of the valley of a river. So the grinding of the sediments along the river, along the bed of a river results into valley deepening. So there are two types of corrosion along the bed of a river. It is known as vertical abrasion. What is the result of this? Results into valley deepening. It results into valley deepening. On other hand, if these are there, now look here, if these are there, if they are grinding the sides of a river valley, if they are grinding the sides, obviously the sides of the river valley will get eroded. If I am grinding the sides of these walls with some tools, obviously the wall will get eroded, and over the period of time the wall will have a hole and the wall will get enlarged, depending on what tools I am having and what is my speed. Same, the river is having tools in the form of some large stones and some small stones. Now the efficiency of these tools will depend on the speed of a river and what is the shape of a tool, what is the side of a tool. If the tools are used along the bed of a river, that is at the base of a river, it will result into valley deepening. But if the tool is used on the sides of a river, it is known as lateral corrosion. Known as lateral corrosion. It is known as lateral corrosion, results into valley widening because of sideways erosion. Because of sideways erosion results into valley widening because of sideways erosion. That means it will result into, what will this result into? It will result into widening rather than deepening because of sideways erosion. So it will result into wide valleys. Now if you look at your common sense, you apply your daily observation, obviously these are the two topographies which are different, where you will find very, very deep valleys. Which part of India you will find very deep valleys? Beautiful landscapes. And in which part of India you will find the valleys very broad? Obviously not at the same place. That means vertical erosion, vertical corrosion, that is valley deepening, results is found in some different landscapes. Himalayas, yes. Western Ghats, mountainous regions, yes. But if you go to Bengal region, if you go to Allahabad, if you go to Varanasi, or if you go to the plain region of any of the river, if you go to East Godavari district, if you go to the plains of the coastal plains, rather than valleys, you will find a very broad stretch of a river, valley widening. That means this difference, because we are going to study in the normal cycle of erosion. That means this is related to some other stage in the river, while this is related to some other stage in the river. But for the preliminary examination, remember, corrosion or abrasion, that means mechanical grinding of what? Of the sediment load along the sides of a river or along the base of a river. Base of a river means vertical abrasion. Vertical abrasion, it results into valley deepening, resulting into formation of, and what is the shape of a valley? V-shaped valleys. If it occurs along the sides of a river, it is known as lateral corrosion. Lateral corrosion results into valley widening. That is, it is because of the sideways erosion. So remember, V-shaped valleys, vertical corrosion results into V-shaped valleys. So what is then corrosion or abrasion? It is a mechanical grinding of the sediment load along the bed or a bank of river, resulting into two different type of an topography. Just have a look at this diagram again. Now the second process of a river erosion is The second process of a river erosion is very simple, that is corrosion or solution. That is when the particles get dissolved here the particles are getting dissolved. That is, they get dissolved, they get mixed with the river water. Now we have already done which kind of a rocks will get dissolved most easily with river water. Calcium rich rocks or calcium carbonate rocks. For example, calcium carbonate rocks get easily dissolved in water. So the corrosion results into dissolution or it results into the solution. The third kind of an erosion is hydraulic action. So obviously the rocks are having some kind of a cracks, and the water is so fluid that it can enter any space if it gets a crack. So when the river comes with the force, the water enters the space. When the water enters the space, it loosens the particles which are attached, the broken cracks, and as a result, after enlarging the cracks, small blocks of the rock are taken away by the water. That means if there is a crack, water is entering this gap and removing away the small particles due to the force. Such kind of an action is known as an hydraulic action. That is, the water entering the gaps and removing, loosening or breaking the rock materials is known as an hydraulic action. That is, there is mechanical loosening of rocks which are then carried away with water is known as an hydraulic action. So what is the hydraulic action? That is the mechanical loosening and sweeping of that is carried away means obviously sweeping of the rock materials is known as a mechanical loosening. And lastly, the last is attrition. Now consider this two type of particles. If I keep on rubbing these particles, obviously these particles will, initially the color will go, then the plastic will go, and if I keep on rubbing, the plastic will also start eroding away. So attrition is a process in which the sediment loads, when they rub against each other, when they are carried by the river, they rub against each other, and as a result of this rubbing, they disintegrate and form smaller particles. So what is an attrition? Attrition is when the load particles, when they rub against each other, such kind of an erosion process is known as an attrition. So the rubbing of particles, that is wear and tear of particles, of what? Obviously rocks. When they rub against each other, is known as an attrition. So these are the four processes of riverine erosion. The river erosion occurs due to the process of corrosion or abrasion, that is the mechanical grinding of the particles along the bank or bed of a river. Corrosion or abrasion means the mechanical grinding of the particles along the banks or bed of a river. Remember, corrosion along the bed of the banks. Solution, something like a chemical action when the water reacts and dissolves the particles. So solution, that means dissolution of the particles. It is also known as corrosion. It is known as corrosion. Don't get confused. Corrosion is solution and corrosion is abrasion. Hydraulic action, that is the water entering the gas, sweeping away the particles and taking it along with itself. So it is the mechanical loosening and carrying away or sweeping away of the particles. Attrition, mechanical wear and tear among themselves. Attrition, what is the difference between abrasion and attrition? When the rocks strike the bed of a river, it is known as abrasion. When the rocks fight among themselves, they rub among themselves, as a result the soil is formed or there is a wear and tear of the rocks, then it is known as attrition. Attrition is among themselves and abrasion is among the bed of a river. So the attrition is wear and tear of the rocks when they rub against each other. When they rub against each other. So the question is, how does the river erosion work? The river erosion works due to the sediments or the load. Obviously it works through the process of corrosion, abrasion, that is corrosion and abrasion, corrosion or solution, hydraulic action and attrition. Now is there anything which determines this process? Now even if you know, even if you are a very good swimmer, will you prefer a peaceful water, tranquil water or highly flooded water or dangerous water? What we call as an highly flooded water or dangerous water? It is obviously dangerous water. Why? Because the volume of a water is very high. Along with the volume, the speed of a water is very high. Because of the speed of the water being very high, that means it can carry away large particles along with itself. That means it can carry many particles, including a very good swimmer. If they jump into the water, they are carried away by the water. That means again the speed of a water, the volume of a water will obviously, if they can carry us, they can carry the sediments. That means these are the factors which affect the what topic we are doing? Erosion. So this erosion of the river water is affected by or we can say the ability of an river water or ability of a river to move various particles to increase the erosion or moving various particles. That means having heavy erosion depends on speed of a river, volume of a river, slope of a river, that is the gradient of a river. So the ability of a river water, we can say the ability of an river water to erode the materials depends on first velocity of a river water. In fact, higher velocity, higher erosion capacity. High velocity, implies high erosion capacity. High erosion capacity. In fact, here you remember a fact, just a twice increase in the velocity of a river water increases its transportation capacity or carrying capacity by 10 times. In fact, doubling the velocity of a river water results into increase of its transportation capacity or carrying capacity by 10 times. That means if the velocity of a river water increases, its transportation capacity increases by 10 times. Therefore, the river becomes so dangerous during the flood. Obviously, in which areas will be the velocity of a river water greater? In the flat areas or in the sloping areas? It will be greater in the areas of a slope. We will use this concept now. Remember this concept. We are using this concept just now after we finish this topic. Velocity of a river increases the transportation capacity. The more materials it can transport, more is the erosional capacity. Where is the velocity greater? In the areas of a slopes. So remember this concept. Okay. The second, it will depend on volume of a water. Volume of an water. Obviously, greater the volume of a water, greater is the erosion capacity. Greater the volume of an water, greater is the erosion capacity. And the third is shape, size, and weight of an sediment load. The ability to carry the materials depends on velocity, volume of a water, and what is the shape, size, and weight of a sediment load. But this third factor again depends on the initial two factors. If the shape of a material is very small, minute, fine, it can be carried even in the water of a low volume and water of a low velocity. But if it is a large stone, it will be carried only if the velocity increases. How we know this equation? 2 times the velocity includes the 10 times the carrying capacity. Then it will, if the volume of a water is high, obviously the velocity becomes high. And if there is too much of a sediment load, then obviously the erosion capacity of a water is very, very high. Now use this in background. This was just a conceptual understanding. Now we are going to the normal cycle of an erosion, because of what we have studied till now, that is the water engages in what kind of an erosion, how are the sediment load carried on. You should know the difference between corrosion and attrition, that is between abrasion and attrition, and you should know the ability of a river water to carry, that is the different materials depends on dash dash. The ability of a river water is known as the carrying capacity of a river. It is known as the carrying capacity of river. It is known as the carrying capacity of an river. So with this in the background, we are starting with the normal cycle of an erosion. Now this normal cycle of erosion was given by W.M. Davis. It was given by W.M. Davis. He gave the concept that the landforms are also like human life, or the landforms are also like any kind of an organisms. That means they can pass through the youthful stage, the mature stage, and the old age. That is the landscape also has some kind of an youthful stage. In the youthful stage they are having different characteristics. They have the mature stage having different characteristics. They are having the old age having and different type of a characteristics. So this kind of differentiation was made by W.M. Davis. Now for the normal cycle of erosion, he chose the cycle of erosion by the rivers. Why did he choose the cycle of erosion by the river? Because the river was the single most dominant process all over the world, because it is the most common process all over the world is the river water. So here the W.M. Davis considered the entire life cycle of a river as normal cycle of erosion, as normal cycle of erosion. Why he chose river? Why did he choose river? Because the river is the single most important agent of erosion in the river in the world. As we have done, I had asked you, wind only in desert, glacier only in the snow-capped mountains, but rivers present everywhere. Why did he choose river? Because river is single most important agent of erosion. Single most important agent of an erosion. Single most important agent of an erosion. Now what did he say? He says that the river also passes through. He says that the river also passes through three stages, that is the youthful stage, mature stage, and the old age. That is, river, like the organic life, also passes through stages of youth, mature, and old age. So this was the normal cycle of erosion. Now we will start. Before I start with the normal cycle of erosion, there is a concept that where is the origin of a river? The river generally originates at the crest. The river generally originates at the top of a mountain, and if there is a mountain like this, if there is a mountain here, the river originates at the crest, and if there is a rainfall, one river will be flowing from this side, while obviously the other river will also flows from this side. It is not that the river originates here and then it goes and crosses. Not possible. River flows from the two sides of a mountain. Such a mountain is known as a water divide, because from one part the land slopes in other direction, from the other part the land slopes in the somewhat other direction. In India we have such water divide that is known as the National Water Divide or the Great Water Divide of India. We have the water divide in India. In India we have such a water divide in the form of right starting from Western Ghats, Satpuras, Vindhyas, Aravalis, and then the foothills of the Himalayas. So if you get such line in the examination, what is the line they ask you? It is an Great Water Divide. That is, what is an water divide? The top of an area, generally mountain, from where rivers originate and flow in opposite direction along the sides is water divide. Now India mein there is a great water divide because from one part the land slopes in the eastern side, while from the other part the land slopes on the western side. So this is a great water divide in India, comprising of an Western Ghat region, of the Vindhyas and the Satpuras region, of the Aravali region, and along the foothills of the Himalayas. For example, therefore the Godavari, which originates here, flows and meets the Bay of Bengal. River Krishna meets Bay of Bengal. River Kaveri, which originates here, meets Bay of Bengal. Ganga river flows and meets Bay of Bengal. Indus river, on the other hand, flows and meets the Arabian Sea. Yesterday we did lot of drainage, numerous rivers, more than hundreds of rivers which originate here and meet the Arabian Sea. So why? Because this line is the great water divide of India, which stretches from the Himalayan foothills, then the Aravalis, then the Vindhyas, then the Satpuras, and then along the Western Ghats. So what is this? This is the great water divide of India. The great water divide of India. So an area where the river originates is generally a mountain, and it has supplemented the great water divide of India. This is just for your preliminary point of view.